Hey, it's DJ Stutz with Little Hearts Academy USA and Imperfect Heroes podcast. And where else would I be on a Tuesday night but here with you? I am here talking today about resilience. How do we bounce back from a bad event or stressful situation, an argument, not getting what you need? And then there's the kids, right? And sometimes our own resilience is struggling because there's a lot going on. And what if you're worried about paying the bills and getting to work and there's car issues and you've got to take care of the kids and then you're zooming them off to softball practice or basketball practice or dance practice, hey Raylene, or all of these other things that are going on. It can just drive you nuts. And sometimes it's hard to really be able to take a breath, slow down, and then think about the example that you're setting for your children. And as resilient as you are, I guess, the more resilient you are, the better your kids are going to be because they're going to see your example. But let's talk about these kids for a little bit. So my podcast that is out there right now, actually, my podcast that's out there right now is with a lady named Lisa Sugarman. And Lisa Sugarman has her own radio show in Boston. She's an author, she's a public speaker, and she's a humorist. She's written many columns for various newspapers, and they're funny columns about raising kids. She's raised two girls of her own. And it's interesting that as we got talking, that there are some important things that we can do. And one of my favorite things, I'll tell you, that we talk about is just being able to laugh at the situation. And I know that that can be hard, but sometimes you just have to sit and look and say, holy cow, this is just craziness, you know? Or they spill the milk and do we go nuts about it, or are we just going to laugh and say, okay, let's get it cleaned up? But if we can be that calm, then we can help our kids be that calm. Another thing, and I understand you're not always going to be calm. It's okay. You know, cut yourself some slack. But if you can think about how can I find the humor in this situation, it will help. Other things are helping your kids just kind of identify how they're feeling and validating that. It's okay to be sad that your favorite toy broke, or it's okay to be sad that it's not your turn right now. And they feel these feelings so deeply. And I think that it's important for us to help them understand how they're feeling, or what is the name that they put to this feeling. A lot of times our littlest guys, they have maybe 4 feelings that they can identify. So one is hungry, right? Another one is angry. Another one is sad. And then there's happy. And really it all falls into those 4 things for them. And so we might want to introduce some new words for them, like frustrated or confused or exhausted. Maybe they're tired, but they think they're angry or they're sad, and really it's just that they need some sleep. Or maybe they're feeling some other things and really they just need to eat, right? They need a break. Maybe they need some mommy or daddy time or any of those kinds of things. And so it's really important to help them put a name to what they're feeling, and then to help them work through it. So telling them right away, it's going to be okay, it's all fine, you know, that kind of makes them feel like you don't get what's going on, because to them right now at that moment, it's not okay. And it's not going to be fine when we've got these little guys. And so it's okay to say, wow, you look really sad, you look really upset, you look really whatever. And I get that. I get that. So do you need a minute? Allow them time to feel their feelings. And then once they're able to really feel those feelings, then they're going to be better able to move along and get over those feelings and work on. And the more that they see that, wow, I was really upset that my doll was broken or whatever it was that is going on, and then they see that, oh, wait, I'm okay, right? I'm sad about my doll, and that's all right. And maybe there's some other things that we can do to help either fix the doll or find another toy to play with for now. There are a lot of things. Or maybe just veer them off into, yeah, it's so sad your doll is broken and I feel really bad for you. I don't know how to fix it. And so maybe we have a friend or the other parent or whatever that might be able to help later. But right now, let's go make some cookies. You want to help me make some cookies? Or right now, let's just go out and swing for a while you're working through things. And if they're not ready for that, don't push them into it. You're going to just say, oh, I can see you're not ready. So do you want to sit by yourself and think about it for a little bit? Or do you want me to sit with you and just give you hugs? And I find that a lot of times kids will want you to sit with them but not talk to them, right? Maybe just scratch their back, and maybe they don't even want that. Maybe they just want to sit there by you, and they might even have their back turned to you so that they don't want to interact with you right now, but they want your presence there. Does that make sense? So I hope that works for you. But another thing that we talked about is helping them find a way to maybe fix it or do something, right? So I'm sad because my friend said he's not my best friend anymore. And that can be devastating to a little guy. It breaks their heart. And so, you can say, yeah, that's really sad. I feel so bad about that, and can you talk to me more about it? Sometimes they will want to talk, sometimes they won't, but giving them that permission to, be upset. And again, it's the same thing. Do you want me to stay here and give you hugs? Do you want me to read you a story? But give them some choices instead of just telling them what to do. If you're giving them some choices, they're going to start seeing themselves as a problem solver. And in fact, I use that word a lot when I'm working with my grandkids or when I'm teaching my kids and they're able to figure something out. Oh, you're a problem solver. You really figured that out. They start getting that in their head that, oh, I can figure things out and I can do some things with, what's going on. And that builds up their confidence. And then that builds their resilience because they think instead of looking at a problem and getting all, devastated about it and having the big heart attack moments, it's, they're going to start learning that, well, maybe I can think of an answer to this problem. And whether it's a social problem or I'm hungry problem. I had a little girl today and we were eating snack in our classroom and she wanted to sit by a friend, but there wasn't a chair there. There was room on the table. There just wasn't a chair there. And there was, everyone was so crowded in at the tables that she couldn't figure out how to get a chair to where she needed it to be. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching her and I'm talking with some of the other kids. And she's looking around, and she sees the chair. That's the right size because we have, some mid-sized chairs and some little-sized chairs. So she went and got a chair, and I'm kind of over on the edge. She came up to me and she said, Miss DJ, can you help me? Well, yes, I can help you. What would you like me to do? Can you pick up this chair and put it over by so-and-so? I want to sit by them. Yeah, I can do that. Do you see how you solved your problem? You got the chair, you came to me, and you asked for help. And that is solving a problem. And she smiled, she was feeling good about being a problem solver. And so I went and put the chair there and she got to sit by her friend and they had a lovely snack time. So when you see your kids coming up with things like, I'm hungry, and so maybe you have a place where you keep snacks and they can get to those. That's just fine. And then, they solve their hunger problem. And when you see them doing that, you can say, oh, I can see you were hungry and you knew just what to do. You went straight to our snack box, didn't you? Yeah, I'm like, you solved your problem. There you go. Do you see the difference in attitude and how you're catching them and watching them do things? And so we've had, constantly in my classroom, we have kids who all want the same toy. And I try to have more than one of toys, especially the more popular ones, but it's not possible for me to have one for every child in the class. And so they're going to have to learn to share. And so what are some things that you can do to help them solve their problem? And so we have some ideas. And sometimes I have a bucket, and they can reach in and pull out, and it says, do this. And that's one way you could solve your problem. And if you don't like that one, you can put it back in the bucket and get another idea. And that works too. So some of them are like, you can wait for your turn. You can ask if they will share. You can ask, can I have it when you're finished? You can try and trade for it, right? And it gives you all these different answers that you can do. And it's interesting that when you give kids permission to say, no, I'm not ready to share yet, they can do that. That's perfectly okay. They don't have to be ready. They don't have to give up a toy just because someone else wants it, right? But they can say, if someone comes and says, I really want that toy, then they can say, I will give it to you when I'm done. Then they're in control. They're able to make decisions. They're problem solving. They're honoring the friendship. And it's funny, how often will I set up the timer and say, okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you've decided. And I'll turn on the timer. And before that timer goes off, that kid has already shared with the other one because they're in control. And now it's their choice. And it goes so much smoother when you're able to give kids choice. And that's one of the key things that you can do to help them be more resilient. So whether it's a choice about how they're going to handle their upset emotions, or it's a choice about how I'm going to share, or it's a choice, do you want this snack or that snack, right? Do you want to sit in this chair or that chair? Do you want to be alone, or do you want me to come and be with you? The more choices that we can give, and the younger they are, the fewer choices they need. So, with a 2-3-year-old, you're going to say, do you want this or this? Correct? It's one or the other. And it's funny because sometimes when you can see that they're beyond and they're able to handle more than 2 choices, they might come up. I'll say, do you want the popcorn or do you want the carrots? And they'll look at that and say, actually, I want an apple. Great, good choice. You thought of an answer all by yourself. You didn't even need me, right? So now they're starting to process beyond, and that shows growth and development and that they're moving along in such a great stage. So those are things that are really helpful as we work to help our children build resilience. Now, sometimes there are things that are really hard to go through. And I think that we often try to shield our kids from those things. And to a point, that's probably okay. I have a couple of friends now who have family in the Ukraine. And, how much do you tell a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old? How much do you let them know? Grandma's in Ukraine and we have to really worry about it. Our aunties and cousins are in Ukraine. And they know that there's a war going on and they can hear these things. But then allow them to ask questions. Allow them to voice, maybe process what they're seeing, what they're hearing. And they might be hearing, you may be protecting them at home from, it may not be Ukraine, of course, it might be some other thing, but you might be protecting them as much as you can from home. But then they're going to hear stuff outside if they're in school. And so then that might scare them. And so sometimes it might be good to just kind of open the door a little bit and say, yeah, there's some stuff. We're trying to help grandma and we're a little worried about her, but I think she'll be okay or whatever. and then see what questions they ask. And that will give you a clue or a direction on what you need to tell them. I mean, how many jokes are there out there when a child asks the question and the parent puts so much more into the meaning of it, and really what they wanted to know was just this little basic piece. And so by asking more questions when they ask a question, what made you think of that? Oh, do you have any ideas? And start talking to them. Then you're going to kind of see what's going on in their head, and that'll give you an idea of where you need to answer it instead of just jumping into a big convoluted, answer that may be more than they're needing. I can tell you that, oh gosh, this is a few years ago now. I had a little guy in my class, and his father had passed away from a sudden illness. And when I had him in class, it had been almost a year since Dad had passed, and Mom still had not told him Daddy died because she was trying to protect him. But what happened was, this child, all he knew was that an ambulance came and took Daddy away, and he never came home. He was scared to death of sirens. He was frustrated and angry. He was getting into fights all the time. And I would try to talk to Mom and say, maybe we need to explain things a little. He can take it. He can. He's a big boy. He's 5. And he can understand those things that, they're gone. Their body isn't working anymore. And then you can project whatever your faith or whether you don't have faith or whether you do, but you can project whatever it is that is important to you and to help them along with it. But having all these secrets and avoiding topics that are so important won't help them at all. I had another little girl, and this was when I was teaching at the college, and her mommy died again of a sudden illness. And, she had just turned 4. But she would come and talk to me and say, my mommy's watching me, my mommy's with the angels. Or when it just warmed my heart one time. She was looking at a book and telling me about this book and what was going on. And I said, you did a really good job with that. And she said, I think my mommy is proud of me. So isn't it interesting? 2 kids, and I guess they were about the same age when the parent died. This little boy had been over it for about a year. This little girl, I was with her, even before it happened. I had met her mom, I knew her. And, but the difference in the kids and their reaction was huge. Now, I'm not to say that this little girl didn't have meltdowns. She did. And I'm not to say that, she didn't worry about things that were out of her sight. So she had a certain book she liked, and she was always worried someone was going to take the book. And so we had to make arrangements and adjustments so that she could be calm about the book. Was it the time now for me to say, you got to get over this, everyone can have a look at this book? That wasn't the time. She was processing. She needed more time to process. She was all of 4 years old, right? And so she needed time to process things that she could do normally. On some days, she couldn't get it done. The next day she would do fine, and then 3 days down, she wouldn't be able to do it. And it wasn't her being, naughty or poor me. I heard some teachers, I wasn't their teacher, her teacher, I was administrator there, and, and I'd say, she's got to grow up. No, she's 4, and she just lost her mom. Like, calm down, be thoughtful, be empathetic, right? And so sometimes teachers need to do that. Sometimes parents need to do that. Sometimes it's grandparents or cousins or friends that they feel like they should be getting better by now. It's not for you to choose. We all mourn in our own way. And it's not for me to choose how my child is going to get through something. My job is to help them get through it and to have lots of open conversations. No questions are out of bound, but then I might want to, again, like I said before, double check and see kind of where that question's coming from. So I'm giving the answer that they're looking for that would help them understand things a little better. So I hope that helps you. It's an amazing episode. Lisa is so fun and so fantastic. And you get to hear a little more about she's written books about raising kids. And I loved her most recent book is How to Raise Imperfect Children and Be Okay with It. I love that. So she's great. I hope you'll listen to the episode. So it's Imperfect Heroes podcast.com, or if you go to Apple, Stitcher, anywhere that you get your podcasts, I'm all over the place really, and it just look up Imperfect Heroes or DJ Stutz and you're gonna find me. It's pretty easy. And I wanted, because I didn't make it last week was spring break, and I was in the middle of visiting family, and I actually forgot what day it was. I didn't do one last week, but I'd love for you to consider also listening to last Monday's podcast. It is another fantastic episode. It's this guy named Paul Henderson, and he is an author. He's an assistant principal at a pre-K up to 8th grade school. He is a public speaker. He has a blog about being a dad, being a father. And the book that he wrote is called Slave No More, Conquering the Master Within. Paul Henderson. Excellent book. And it's a pretty easy read. It's not big. It's only about that, maybe that thick. And it's written in a way that it's very easy to read, but the story is so compelling about how to get over your past, all of the things that have happened. And he shares stories of people who really had awful things happen to them and how they overcame that, and they didn't let that get in the way of their future. So that you don't let the past get in the way of your future. And he was just another great episode. And in fact, I've gotten a number of texts and emails telling me how much they enjoyed Paul Henderson's episode. And so I hope that you'll take the time and look at that one as well. And, pop the earbuds in and while you're cleaning or while you're doing other things, it's great to just listen as you're doing other things. Although I've had people tell me, especially with the Paul Henderson one, they said that they listened to it one time and while they were doing stuff, and they realized, I want to listen to it again when I can really pay attention. And so they went back and listened to it again when they could sit down and really concentrate on it. Well, boy, that made me feel good, right? Paul's a great guy, and I hope that you will listen to that too. So next week, I had to stop and think. Next week, we're going to be talking about my podcast episode is with another podcaster, and she actually talks about these hacks that moms can do to get things done fast and easy, and it makes mothering much easier. And so I hope you'll listen in. I'll talk more about that next Tuesday. But I also want to tell you that I don't have much more time that I'm going to have this available. So it's this workshop. It's free. And when you go to www.littleheartsacademyusa.com and you scroll down, you will see a thing on parent-teacher conferences, what to ask and what to share. And it's a little 1 hour, and I'm offering it for free right now. It's only going to be about another week or two that I'm going to continue that, and then it'll go back to its cost, which is really not that much. It's $17. But for right now, you can get it for free. So take advantage of that. And it's goes beyond parent-teacher conferences too, because we have a lot of conversations with our kids' teachers, at the door when you're dropping off, when you're picking up. Maybe you're shooting them an email. Should I share this with my teacher? Do they need to know this? We're going to talk about all of those things so that you know and you can have a great communication with your child's teacher, and that you can help them be a better teacher actually for your child when they have the right information. And we talk about what that right information actually is. And so I hope that you'll share in on that. And so until next week, let's find joy in parenting. Bye, guys.